Hi book friends, I'm Erin and this is Erin Go Read. This is my March TBR. Now my February TBR was overly ambitious, so I'm going to undershoot this time. I have 7 books that I hope to read in the month of March, and I will probably end up reading more than that, but these are the books that I really want to get started with. Now the first one, I don't have a copy yet. I have pre-ordered the Priory of the Orange Tree. I have to look at my note because I keep forgetting that title. The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. This is going to be a beast of a book. It's about 850 pages. So it should be arriving any day now, I think, like within the next week. So I will probably have it, I can't remember the exact date, but I will have it pretty much at the beginning of March. So I might not start with that one straight away because it's so big. I might want to like start with something a little shorter so I can get something under my belt. But anyhow, I'm really excited for that one. The cover is beautiful. If I can figure out editing wise how to do it, I will maybe place a picture of it right here. We'll see how my booktube editing skills are just yet. Okay, now to the books that I actually have. Now, The Priory of the Orange Tree qualifies for this too. Jen over at Jen's Bookish Thoughts is doing a read-a-thon called femmefantale. So it's supposed to be like a play on femme fatale, and the purpose of it is to read fantasy books written by women. And so The Priory of the Orange Tree qualifies as that, and as does Robin Hobb's The Sorcerer's Apprentice. Not The Sorcerer's Apprentice. Try that again, Erin. As does Robin Hobb's The Assassin's Apprentice. This is book 1 in the Farseer trilogy. So I've heard nothing but really great things about Robin Hobb's writing and this series, which goes on. There's multiple trilogies that are kind of built in the same world, and there are multiple points that you can kind of jump in, but this is truly book 1 in the entire series. So I'm excited to get to this one, and it's not super long. It's like, it was under 400 pages. So that will be one that I might start the month off with. I tend to multi-read, and a good key if you're going to read multiple books at once is to read the books that you're reading simultaneously, to have them be different from each other. So I wouldn't recommend reading 2 family dramas at the same time, or 2 historical fictions, or 2 fantasy books. Reading from different genres will help it make it way easier to completely separate them in your mind. So even as I was listening to Life After Life, which is historical fiction, but there's a lot of family involved in it, I was even getting the family dynamics mixed up in that book compared to Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie's Americana. And just because there was a lot of family involvement. So it didn't ruin either book for me, but I was having moments of like, wait, is that her aunt? Is that her cousin? Who is that person to that? And I was kind of getting these relationships mixed up from one book to the other because they both had really strong family elements to it. So that being said, I want to read something completely different while I'm reading those fantasies. So I have Allie Smith's Winter. So I want to get this read before winter is over. The groundhog told us that spring is coming. So I would like to get this read. This is my first Allie Smith book, and this is part of her seasonal quartet. I believe spring is coming out this spring, and autumn is already out. I don't have a copy of that yet, and then summer, I imagine, is still in the works. So I would like to read this while it's still winter. Next up, I have possibly a new favorite author, and reading this book may verify that for me, and that is Kazuo Ishiguro's Never Let Me Go. So I've heard nothing but excellent things about this book. I really enjoyed The Remains of the Day that I read in January by him, and I also have The Buried Giant by him. this is one of his more well-known. I think The Remains of the Day and Never Let Me Go are his two most well-known. And it says, winner of the Nobel Prize in Literature. No one really ever talks about the actual premise of this book, so I don't want to even read the blurb on the back to know more about it. I just know it's supposed to like wreck you, so we'll see. But I'm excited to get to this one, and also in a month that I plan on reading a few pretty chunky fantasy books. It's nice to throw in a couple smaller books to help kind of refresh the palate. And next up, and the only Great American Read book on this month's TBR, is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. And this is the beautiful Penguin English Library edition. Has the stripes on the spine and then the unique cover art there. I think I actually just got this on my Hold Came Through. The audiobook of the Hold came through from my library. So I may do bits and pieces. I may split this up between audio and physical book. I'll have to see, because I've experienced in the past where I love audiobooks, but sometimes with classics, I have a hard time digesting it and just kind of keeping up with the story just through the audiobook. So I might give it a try and see. But again, this one isn't very long. So this is a little under 400 pages. It's longer than it looks. I've never read Pride and Prejudice, and this will be my second Jane Austen. I read Emma several years ago. I don't think I could tell you anything about it, to be honest. So I'm pretty excited to get to Pride and Prejudice. And then I think on DVD I have the Keira Knightley version. I think there's a BBC movie or like mini series maybe of this. So that might be a fun little treat after I finish reading the book, is to watch either the movie or the BBC version of it. Back into the world of fantasy. So I have kind of three, right? Three? Yeah. I have 3 fantasy books planned for March, and so I will have to kind of spread these out a bit, especially because the fantasy books tend to be chunkier. This book comes in at a little over 600 pages. Oh, I should tell you what book I'm talking about. That is Marlon James's Black Leopard, Red Wolf. So I was really hoping that I was going to get to this in February, and it just didn't happen. I had to stop myself from just dropping everything and picking this up. So I'm practicing delayed gratification. This book is really heavy. It's just physically heavy. It's a little over 600 pages. But this has been described as the African Game of Thrones, I think, just for lack of anything more creative to say about it. But it is a fantasy novel steeped in African folklore. I've heard really great things about this so far, and it will be the first book in a series. It's kind of exciting when you have all these epic fantasy series that are out there, and it can be intimidating to know where to start and which series to jump into. And the lighting just got really bad. The sun's going down. It's kind of exciting to get started with one when it first comes out. Stevie, stop bumping the camera. So, Black Leopard, Red Wolf. Last up on the list, historical fiction, Remarkable Creatures by Tracy Chevalier. And this is set in England, I believe. And these 2 ladies here on the cover form a friendship, bonding over their newfound love of scouring the earth or the beaches, I think, for fossilized skeletons. So that should be quite different from the heavy fantasy books. Winter is by Ali Smith is very current events heavy. I know a lot of people really enjoy Tracy Chevalier's writing, including my best friend Megan, who bought me this book for Christmas. So I'm excited to be able to read this and then talk to her about it. So these are 6 of the books that I hope to read in March of 2019. Have you read any of these books? Are you interested in reading any of these books? What are your reading plans for March? Subscribe if you like what you see. See you around the tubes.